My name is Tristina Lee. I'm an actress based in Los Angeles, California, originally from New York. I've definitely been in the game for a couple of years now. It's crazy to say. And I've had the pleasure of being in film and TV on specific networks like BT, HBO, Lifetime.
What inspired you to pursue acting, and who are your role models in the industry?
Sure. I first started acting when I was in New York. I actually was 8 years old and I was on the computer. And I looked it up and I showed my mom, and my mom has always encouraged me to explore my interests. She's always just encouraged me to go after what my heart is telling me. So I started there doing off-Broadway shows with this youth theater group called Tada Theater. The reason I love it so much is because I'm able to take my life experiences and whether positive or negative and put them, they have a reason. I use a lot of my life experiences in my work. And whenever I go through something tough, I'm like, this is happening for a reason. I'm gonna use this in a movie one day, watch, to really create authentic narratives for people to watch. And as far as role models in the industry, I feel like a lot of my friends are actually role models for me. I think I have a lot of people around me that are truly dedicated to what they do and don't give up in the face of adversity. So I admire that so much. I have a lot of successful friends around me that got their success by just pushing, pounding the pavement and not letting things stop them and truly believing in themselves. And I think for me, that has encouraged me to continue as well. And so I'm lucky to have people around me that are my role models, my circle, they're my role models.
How do you handle the challenges of being a Black woman in the industry?
My circle, I think I always go to them for advice. Like anything I go through, I always go to them for advice. And I have a lot of Black women around me in the industry as well to ask, oh, how do I navigate this? How do I do this? And I, I think not letting the media get to you, a lot of times it can be discouraging to see certain, colorism in the industry. I think it can be discouraging to see the lack of, still to this day, lack of roles for us. But I think having the circle around me, asking them about their experiences, and then also for myself, knowing the stories that I want to tell and how I want to change the narrative really helps me too. Because I'm like, okay, this might be what you guys are trying to tell Hollywood, but this is what I want to say. And not really backing down from that as a Black woman. Like, no, I don't, me personally, no, I don't want to perpetuate stereotypes unless it has a beautiful story around it or a nice character arc. That's just not me. And I'm not knocking people who do take that. But for me personally, I'm going to take on things that really speak to me, and who I am as a Black woman and my personal experiences. And then I also think just talking about it, whether it's in therapy or like I said, with peers or even older peers too, they have a lot of the Black women that are older, they have a lot of wisdom. So I definitely rely on them on navigating what it's like. And if talking to them, you're like, oh wow, like things really have changed, even though we still have a long way to go.
Do you feel you've gotten more or less opportunities as a Black woman in the industry?
I definitely felt, and people will fight a lot of us on it, but I think so. I think so. I think that's definitely a thing. I think it is the industry is trying to change, and you do see more diversity in roles. But I would say, for example, during 2020, there's a lot of Black Lives Matter things going on, and you could see studios, networks trying to diversify their content to really include not just, Black people, but Asian people and Hispanic people, and really make it a mirror of what our day to day is with these shows, TVs, and uh, films and TV shows. And I feel like since then, they've kind of pulled back again. Um, in my opinion, I feel like I was getting a lot of opportunity back then, and now it kind of leveled out more, especially for more leads. I think it kind of reset after that, and I don't know why. And maybe someone in the production side or casting side would disagree or say it's just me. But me personally, I definitely feel the pullback, seeing us in less lead roles, seeing our shows canceled. after season one, but not getting the advertisement that they push behind other shows to really put the show out there before people even know what it is and can tune in. It's definitely a challenge being a Black woman in an industry that's not necessarily dominated by people like us. But then you have pioneers that are really trying to change that for us, like Issa Rae. I think Kerry Washington is really doing her thing, and people behind the scenes as well. So I'm grateful to live in a time where we have people who have a platform and are using that platform to try to really change change that narrative.
Do you hope to contribute or change within the industry regarding representation and diversity?
Mm. I think for me personally, I hope to get to a place where I can produce a lot of projects that and everyone has their thing. I think some people focus on mental health, some people focus on, I don't know, their own life experiences. But for me, I feel like I'm a multifaceted Black woman. I've been in a lot of different spaces. I was in prep school, but then I'm from New York City, so I was in inner city. And then, I went to Texas for college. So I feel like I have a lot of different experiences. And I just want to show that I think with the roles I take on, I want to show that we have so many different aspects to us. We're not just one. And I think we are doing that to a certain extent. But for me, I just really want to show that even as one person, you can have a lot of different sides to you. And I think Hollywood tends to be like, oh, oh, you're in this crowd, you're this type of Black person, and you're this type of Black person. It's like, no, I'm actually all of them. So I would love to, whether it's me producing a project, writing a project, or taking on a role that really shows that you can be, I don't know, you can be a lawyer, but also have a really Southern family that talks a certain way, and with your friends, you talk a certain way, and then I'm taking hip hop class, like, that's my goal. I mean, at least that's who I am as a Black woman, Black girl, and I would love to contribute that to the conversation.
Recent talk about underpay, including Taraji P. Henson talking about quitting. How do you feel about the situation?
Hmm. I think it's a tricky situation. Historically, yes, I think that it's definitely something that's happening, and I can't deny that. I haven't been on the level, obviously I'm not on Taraji's level, so I haven't been in those positions.
Yeah.
But it can't be not true if everyone's complaining about it, right? Like it just doesn't make sense. And if you look at the numbers, you'll see from the top, the A-listers, you'll see that there is a disparity.
Hmm.
But I think we also aren't given the opportunity to be these movie stars. We don't have a lot of movie stars. They don't make us into these big stars like they do. The only person I can think of is I always say it wrong, Zendaya.
Yeah.
I think they're making her into a star, but with that comes the money.
Hmm.
So I think it's tricky. I think there's a lot of politics involved with that, other than just pay. It's like, what opportunity are we getting? Are we getting the PR? Are we getting the leads in the big summer blockbuster film? No.
Hmm.
um, so I think it's a whole web of things. And then on top of that, as you probably know, we have had strikes, the writer strike and then the actor strike. And we're unfortunately in a time where work has been cut slim to none, or at least, I don't know, I think it's like 25% back or so. Don't quote me on it, but the opportunities are very limited, and the studios are slashing budgets. They're trying to save money. Like we have this whole conversation with AI because they want to use AI for things to save money. So I think the budgets are just not in our favor too. So it's a tricky thing to determine right now. But I think when the industry restabilizes, then we'll be able to really figure out where we're at, what projects are being made, who are the stars they're making, and really fight for our pay in a way that makes sense in the context of the industry.
Yeah. There have been many Black actresses talking about their experiences in Hollywood with racism. Did it ever
Mhm.
affect your decision as being an actress?
Hmm, that's a good point. I don't think it's affected my decision, but it definitely made me hyper aware of what I was going into.
Mhm.
Um, for example, there's a lot of subtle or unintentional racism. That's what I've experienced. I
Mhm.
haven't experienced anything blatant, but I definitely experienced, like, for example, one of the movies that I did, my makeup was too dark and I
Yeah.
didn't notice. I trusted the makeup artist, and I saw the scene, I was like, oh my God, why does it look like I have dirt on my face? And I'm like, because they definitely just, the person was not of color and
Mhm.
they just used the same makeup for all the Black girls.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're not the same skin tone and we have undertones and yellow undertones, red undertones. So that was just like a moment where I was like, okay, I need to
Mhm.
make sure I bring my own makeup, or make sure I at least look in the mirror to make sure I look good. Or another instance where I was heading to set and I was in the cast, but they put me with the extras automatically. Like they were like, "Oh," I was like, "Oh, do you know where the trailers are?" And the guy looked at me and he was like, "What role are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm student, whatever, blah blah." It's like student number one, whatever it was, but it's still cast. And
Mhm.
he's like, "Yeah, you're a student. Go over there with the background." And I was like, I don't think I'm background. And they would have told me if the role was background. Like I auditioned for the role. And then I went to someone else and she was like, oh no, you're cast. Like whatever, your trailer's over there. Right. And when I talked to other people, they said that was a normal experience for them, other Black women. Like I saw it posted and I didn't realize it was a collective experience. But they're like, yeah, like when you show up to set and they automatically assume your background. And there's nothing wrong with being background. I've done background. But don't assume that, and especially if an actress is coming to you and saying, "Hey, like, where's X, Y, and Z?"
Yeah.
So I feel like we experience it in those ways, or like the hair situation, just making sure we have our hair either done or have wigs or have our tools with us.
Mhm.
Um, Now they're required to have a stylist of color or a stylist that knows how to do our hair on set if we're
Mhm.
on set, which is a blessing. So now we don't have to worry as much. But yeah, it just made me hyper aware of like the things that I have to do that maybe my counterparts don't have to worry about or think about. We definitely have to over prepare ourselves. We can't just show up to set. No, unless you're the lead of a show and they know you, for the most part, you have to know, at least have your own stuff with you in general. So that's definitely something that I am now aware of that I wasn't before, but it hasn't stopped me from pursuing my my career.
Mhm. How do you see the future of